With Mother's Day coming up, it's probably really important for you to be very empathetic to your spouse.
That's
guys.
Right. So joining us is marriage and family counselor Tyler Patrick with a look at ways that we can make a real difference in the feel of our homes. I'm just going to be honest right now. I am a pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of person, and we all have problems. Why is empathy a good thing in building relationships?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with being the pull up your bootstraps, but I promise that if you're empathetic, that pull up your bootstraps goes further.
Okay, so you have to pair it together. Why does empathy make such a big difference?
Empathy is a way for us to be able to connect with somebody, and I'm thinking of like situations like, well, we have Mother's Day coming up, and I promise that most of the people, I love you, Mom, and I love you, Jeanette. This isn't about you. Most of the people are going to have discussions with their spouses in the aftermath of Mother's Day.
Oh, I like that word, aftermath.
my mother-in-law
like
and the interaction
storm.
I had with her, right? And so my wife may come to me, and as an example again, my wife may come to me and she might say, hey, Tyler, this, and this about your mother. And for me to be able to, I'm likely to get defensive.
Because
I want
it's
to
your mom.
protect my mom.
Right.
I don't want to agree with my wife. But if I really want to connect with my wife, what I do is I kind of follow 4 simple steps.
Okay, so what's the first
yeah,
step?
let's go to that first one.
So the first step is to first take perspective, and I need to get out of myself and I need to look at my wife's position and the shoes that she's in. And so I get myself out of my own shoes and into her shoes. And so my wife is feeling potentially like she's judged or like she doesn't measure up to my mom's expectations or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the next one is you're supposed to take a non-judgmental position.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So the non-judgmental part is that I may see my wife as being totally wrong in this situation, or I might see it in a different way, or I might have judgments about my own mother or her mother, whichever one we're talking about. It's to be able to let that go and to really put the emphasis on just understanding my wife's perspective. That's all that matters for this particular moment.
And not starting the sentence with, at least my mom doesn't fill in the blank.
Never start with that.
Never start with that. Not a good one.
No.
And we need to understand emotions, don't we?
Yeah, and what this means is we actually have to be in touch with our own dark part of whatever is going on with this conversation. We need to dig deep enough to understand, I know what it's like to feel judged, and because of that I can sit with my wife in that potential situation that she's expressing. And I have to be willing to go there with her, otherwise I can't really connect with her.
So the last one, express support. I think that you can't go wrong with supporting someone.
Yeah, and so it may not even be words. It might be a hug. It might be saying, yeah, we don't even have to agree with what the person's saying. We just have to agree with the fact that, hey, I'm listening to you. I know that this is really hard. I can see how difficult it is. I've felt those feelings before. And yet, and after we do that, it allows us space to actually give our own perspective that might even be different, but it's more likely to be heard.
Are there things that we can do that make it difficult for us to be able to show empathy towards other people?
Yeah, sometimes we get caught up in trying to show sympathy instead of empathy. And so like someone loses a loved one, it's a lot easier to drive by and stuff a casserole in the mailbox than it is to go and knock on the door and hug somebody and sit with them in their pain and understand what that's like to not know what to say.
Okay.
And so
stop the casseroles.
No, keep the casseroles coming.
Bring a casserole and give them a hug.
But bring your
just
time,
understand
too.
that that's sympathy and not empathy. And sometimes sympathy deprives us of the ability to really emotionally connect. Does that make sense?
Very
that's
much
good
so.
advice. And speaking from personal experience, I've never known a case where empathy has been the wrong route. It's always worked.
Very good.
Tyler, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Now,